Throughout history, words and phrases have emerged from the most surprising and fascinating places. Take the phrase "cold feet," for instance. Over thousands of years, soldiers marched in harsh conditions, often in poor footwear, suffering frostbite and nerve damage. Some made it all the way to the battlefront, only to back out, unable to fight due to their injuries. In 1896, author Stephen Crane took inspiration from these struggles in his novel The Red Badge of Courage, using cold feet to describe someone backing out at the last minute, a phrase that has stuck ever since. Now, if you've ever heard someone say, "the writing's on the wall," you might not know that its origins lie in the Bible. In the book of Daniel, King Belshazzar was a careless ruler, neglecting his kingdom and desecrating holy items. One night during a feast, a hand appeared out of nowhere, writing a cryptic message on the palace wall. No one understood it, but Daniel was summoned to interpret. It was God's judgment, and the kingdom would soon fall. That phrase now represents an inevitable outcome, when fate's sealed and disaster is looming. Shifting from biblical times to the colonial era, let's travel to the Yucatán Peninsula. When the Spanish arrived in Mexico, they repeatedly asked the local indigenous people what the land was called. Each time, they were told Yucatan. Thinking they'd been given the name, they coined the term Yucatán Peninsula. But the truth, the locals weren't naming the land. They were saying, "We don't understand you." The mix-up between cultures gave rise to one of geography's long-lasting misnomers. Speaking of misunderstandings, the phrase buncombe or bunk has its roots in the halls of the U.S. Congress. In 1820, as debates over the Missouri Compromise raged, a North Carolina congressman named Felix Walker stood up to speak. But instead of making sense, his rambling was seen as nonsense. He later explained that his speech was aimed at his home district in Buncombe County, North Carolina. From then on, meaningless or irrelevant talk was called buncombe, which later became debunked when proved to be false. Finally, let's rewind to 1920, when Czech playwright Karel Čapek introduced the world to a new word. Through his play RUR, Rossum's Universal Robots. The play depicted a factory that mass-produced artificial workers designed for forced labor. Čapek called them robots, from the Czech word robota, meaning forced labor or drudgery. Little did he know that this term would spark the beginning of our fascination with robots, a word now deeply tied to technology, automation, and the future of work. What words and phrases do you use every day that you don't know the origins of? Leave a comment below.